And I gotta make sure once I see we're recording, I'm gonna make sure I share it.
There we are. We're live.
Are we live right now? Oh my God.
Absolutely.
We are live. So our 16th show of Time Out with EC, Eric Cohen, and NK Nancy. Can you believe it's our 16th show?
Well, let's just say that I'm grateful that we keep finding wonderful people to bring into our little timeout world.
Why would they not want to join us? I mean, come on.
Well, I don't know. I can be annoying at times.
Well, so can I.
I don't know. I don't think so, Eric. You're really,
That's
you're,
not. I'm
you're,
not.
you're just such a sweet, just a
eh,
sweet baboo.
Well, a sweet what?
A baboo.
A baboo? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, that's not a baboon. It's a baboo. It means baby.
All right, that's just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Um. Anyway, for
You
those
were
who,
you were telling me I misspelled something in the
oh,
in
so
the
you and
beginning.
we were chatting right before. And by the way, for people who are wondering, yeah, I am going to be leaving. I'm going into the army. Well, I got my.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Uh, no, it's just a summer cut. It's a hot date. I mean, we got back into the
I
night.
stayed in all day, and often on Sundays I like to take care of the house business, all the different stuff that needs to be done. So I did that, and I was glad to be inside today. But I wanted to finish this conversation that I was
Yeah,
having about,
spelling.
yeah, well, I misspelled something in the copy, we call it,
Yes,
talking about our show.
but
And
right.
I explained to you, I said, because I always ask Eric, did I spell everything right? And some people on Facebook have really kind of come after me because I misspell things. But it is a fact that creative people often have a hard time with spelling.
Interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't explain to you why, but I do know that it's a real thing.
Now I've always been a great. Now I've always been not to toot my own horn. I've always been a very good speller. Um,
Excuse me.
but for some reason, I mean, does that make me uncreative?
No, no, no. That means you listened in school. I mean, I spent the entire time in school I was in the music room. I never went to hardly any class. I just wanted to do music all the time. That's where my attention was. You know, this is what it is. And I loved the English. I got an A in English. I don't know why I didn't do better, but
Yeah.
it's
Um,
okay.
yeah. I saw. By the way, I got to try to share this again. I don't know why I didn't share
Oh, did
my.
you get it?
It did not share to my.
Oh, I didn't share it either. Thank you for reminding me.
Let me try to share it again to my page here. No, but I noticed you put something on Facebook earlier today something to the fact that you can't remember ever using your air conditioning this much, right?
I don't ever remember it being this hot, right? I've had it on so much.
Yeah.
That's not an interesting subject.
Well, no, but I mean, this has been this is going to go down as one of the hottest summers that I can recall ever.
And it's been sunny, which is kind of a drag because
There we
it's
go.
beautiful out, and yet for me, it's too hot to do a lot of activities past 11 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I get my
Yeah.
walk or my bike ride in before that because it's just too much.
Um, I always kid this about you when we talk privately on the phone, but I'm going to ask you on the show. When was the last time your lawn got mowed?
Oh my God.
You know, you.
I have the lawn that just looks dead. I don't go out
Oh,
there.
please, come
It's all
on,
dead. My neighbor mowed. He's Mr. Mow.
Mr. Mo. By the way, we are rolling on my timeline. Jonathan Knapp has dropped in. Rosalind Blue. Um, Rosalind said she used to be. Um, I think she's saying she used to be a good speller, You won't be too bad, but not as good as you used to spell.
Well, thank God for that Grammarly thing.
Yes.
I mean, that really saves my butt.
So, if you're not aware, our guest today will be bringing on in about 5 minutes, and we appreciate she has been in the waiting room. We don't like waiting rooms, do we, Nancy?
No, we don't.
Waiting rooms are not fun, but this is different. This is not it's not as if our guest is waiting to, waiting for a root
Have an
canal.
operation.
This is, you and I are not as bad as a root canal, are we?
I think we'd have to ask some of our viewers that.
Anyway, though, one of the most distinguished journalists in all of Central New York, she's had such an amazing career. Miss Carrie Lazarus is going to be joining us in roughly 5 minutes, and we're going to talk about a wide variety of topics, including her time at WSYR and certainly her, her work with some of the extraordinary talent, young talent here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to talking about that.
In Central New York. So very excited to have Carrie joining us. Again, if you've missed any of our previous shows, you can find them on our Facebook page, Time Out with Eric Cohen and Nancy Kelly, or our YouTube channel as well. Again, we have spoken with, in our 15 shows, we've spoken to everybody from Nancy's daughter to my father, to Frank Malfitano, to Rick Montalbano, to Jeff Stockham, to Rosanna Vitro, Ron Wilkins, the trombonist who told us what it was like to recover from
survive
COVID-19.
Yeah, a lot of people are very upset about the bill that was just passed. That it's once again requiring, they're requiring clubs to, what they're trying to do is reduce large gatherings. And
the bill, again, you can't, bars cannot, they cannot charge for live music, correct?
I know. I understand the impetus, but I don't understand what the not charging has to do with. What is that? What's your insight on that?
I mean, I just think it's the state. I just think it's New York State that is trying to be overly protective of.
Well, you can understand if you were a resident of New York City and you lived through the horror that they lived through, I can understand someone being a little sensitive, right?
Of course, and I can't have the perspective that a club owner has. You know many more club owners than I do, and you know many more musicians than I do, and this is just another kind of wrench in the plans of trying to get things slowly back in motion.
Well, I also think, depending on the kind of event it is, some events are party bands, and people want to dance and they want to party, and once they start doing that, they want to take the mask off because it's a drag to have it on.
Yeah.
So, there's and they can't just say, well, you can't do this and you can do that. You can't. I mean, they just got to say to everybody, okay, we just got to wait. We just have to wait. Americans are stubborn as all get out, and they just don't want to see this through until we get a vaccine. And I really am of the belief system that we need to be patient. Everyone needs to be patient. You can see what happens every time we open up. I don't mean to get political, but I'm passionate about it because it affected me. I lost another 3 gigs.
I know. Real quick, before we bring Carrie on, do you want to mention about this coming week?
Yeah, Wednesday night, live on Facebook. I'm going to be with some of my favorite jazz guys, Rick Montalbano on piano, Joey Arcuri on bass, the great Jimmy Johns on drums, and the insanely talented Joe Corello. He'll probably bring a couple horns. So it's going to be live from the studio, so it's going to have really good sound, and I'm really looking forward to it. So it'll be on Subcat's page, but I'll also share it on my Nancy Kelly page.
And we should mention to people that next week, our guest is going to be my co-host. And we're going to hopefully get a chance to listen back to some of the music from that session, and just got a chance to shoot the breeze, you and I, which we haven't done in a while, just the two of us. And so it'll be nice to do that just a few days after you get together with the guys in at Subcat.
Well, I have something I want to share here. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a nice lead into our guest.
Yeah, and we just play a little bit of this. And let's let it play. And while...
Thank you so much. You're doing a great thing, helping musicians like myself and many others realize their dream.
This experience was so awesome. I'm truly thankful for all you did. I am so blessed. Thank you again. Love, Maddie.
Thank you very much for donating to this really awesome cause, to this really awesome fund, because the arts, generally we don't receive the kinds of funds that maybe sports and whatnot receive.
Thank you, because you're really helping us musicians or dancers or whatever your talent is continue on what we love doing.
I just want to say thank you so much. Like, this means so much. It's such a blessing, and I'm so honored.
A lot of people donated so that you could have this.
Yeah, it's awesome. And they all deserve a big hug and a big thank you.
Well, how about if I take the hug for everybody?
Okay.
Do that?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
So...
Well, with that in mind, it is our distinguished pleasure to welcome as our guest the woman who spotlighted all this extraordinary talent. In 3, 2, and 1. There she is.
Hello.
It's Carrie Lazarus.
Oh, you look so gorgeous. It's so good to see you.
Well, thank you. You too at your piano. Or does that mean we're going to hear you play?
Oh Lord, no.
I wish.
You don't want to hear me play piano, trust me. No, that's a nice thing to say. I am a classically trained pianist, but I kind of let my piano playing go because I couldn't keep up with my singing.
Oh.
Isn't that an odd thing to say? I don't know.
I mean, I guess one has to follow the other.
I mean, my singing got better than my piano playing, and it made it difficult. And I said, wow. Oh, did you see? So anyway, look at you have some sunflowers. It's so
Oh my God, aren't these pretty? A friend got these from me at a farmer's market yesterday down in Borodino, and I just love sunflowers. They're so happy.
Don't they just make you smile? They really do.
They do. How are you? I haven't seen you or Eric or a lot of other people since right around March something. Anyway.
Right. I've been quarantined. I keep here. I have spent some time with my family here and there a little bit. But other than that, I'm just here teaching and doing the show with Eric and, I've been working on my own music and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
How about you? What do you find yourself doing?
Well, we had our youngest child home with us for 4 months.
Oh boy.
We scooped her up in Manhattan in mid-March, and she thought she'd be here for maybe a couple of weeks. And 4 months later, she left and moved to Los Angeles to go to graduate school. So But it was, I guess, one of the gifts of this horrible time is that families have come back together. And, you know, when do you have your adult child move in with you for months at a time? And the fact that we really loved it, it was a gift. I say it's one of the gifts of this time. So,
yeah, I mean,
it is. That really is an incredible story. I mean, and as you say, who knew? You know, here we are still almost 6 months later. Still, you know.
Yeah.
And Eric, and I don't know whether you were listening to us before you came on. Did you hear any of it?
I didn't.
We did a beautiful lead in with some footage from your extraordinary all the youngsters saying thank you to you, and then we cut it off. We cut it off with you hugging one of the little ones, and then I said, "Oh, nobody can hug anymore."
I know. Yeah, the last person in the video was this very incredibly talented young pianist who said, I just wish I could give a hug to everyone out there. And you said, well, I'll take the hug. And
yes. That's Kayla Michael, who we met when he was 10 years old. His piano teacher, Pat DeAngelis, who was married to the great Tony DeAngelis, Mr. D, from the symphony, and from, you know, just a long-time wonderful music teacher, taught all kinds of great musicians who've gone on to better things. And she was teaching this young piano player, and he was unbelievable. He was composing music. He'd only been playing a year, and she wrote me a letter and said, he really needs a better piano. He's playing on an upright, and he'll never be able to become a great young pianist unless he has a good instrument. Do you think your foundation could help? And we helped his family buy him a piano. And now he's 15 and winning all kinds of competitions. And yeah, he's the real deal.
Yeah, is he here in Syracuse?
Yes, he lives in Fayetteville. He's homeschooled, so he has the opportunity to practice and travel and really focus on his music along with his academics. So yeah, that's one of the many success stories of the Extraordinary Talent Fund. So
it's funny you mentioned homeschool, because I was thinking about that, and I thought, boy, the kids that are homeschooled really are not feeling the strain of the pandemic the way the other kids are.
Yeah, probably not. But you know, when you brought up Calum and the piano, I really have to thank you, Nancy, because when I started the Extraordinary Talent Fund, you were the first professional musician I called and said, I'm doing this, and I know that you teach and you touch so many young people. Please let me know if you have a student who you think could use help, is talented and should be interviewed for the news. And anyway, you said to me, you know, what you're doing could save someone's life.
I did?
You did. Oh. You said, Carrie, people don't really understand that we don't choose music. Music chooses us. And young people need their music. They don't just love it. They don't just share it. They don't just bring joy. They need it. And when you said that to me, I thought, oh my goodness, I guess I must be onto something. So thank you. You probably didn't even know how impactful that would be.
No, I didn't. I don't even remember saying. I remember those thoughts, and I use those thoughts, and have said that before, but I don't remember. I was driving home from work when we were talking, as I recall.
Yeah. Yep. You're always driving, boy.
Not anymore.
A lot of miles on that car. Not anymore.
Which I have to admit, I'm loving.
I bet.
Yeah.
Anyway, wow. So that was in the very beginning. So I'll always remember it.
Do you think there's any hope to do some virtual Extraordinary Talent shows?
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking that would be all that we could do. And then one day, about a month ago, I got a call from a young bass player named Sam Smith, who just graduated from Berklee
I
College
know
of Music.
Sam, yes.
I know
You know
Sam as
Sam?
well. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam has been part of the Extraordinary Talent Program with his band Notified for a long time. And they have been aching for a performance, a live performance. They've all been playing in their, living rooms and bedrooms and doing these virtual collaborations. But there's nothing like a real performance with living, breathing humans in the audience. And he said, Carrie, all the guys from Notified are together, and we would love to play a concert. Do you think you could help us find a gig? So I called Bill Eberhardt, who owns the Sherwood Inn, and they have outdoor dining, and they have this lovely porch where they have concerts in normal times. In fact, Joe Whiting and so many great musicians have played on that porch.
Didn't they call it the Seafood Festival or something?
Festival.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Right. Beautiful
And
setting. Beautiful.
It is a beautiful setting. So I called and Bill said, bring them out. So last Saturday night, Julia Goodwin from Baldwinsville, our phenomenal singer, and the boys from Notified played a concert. They did an hour-long set. And the people who were sitting and eating at the Sherwood were you could just see the look on their faces. Like
they need it just as much.
Yes. Like they didn't even realize how much they missed live music.
Yeah.
They totally take it for granted. It's everybody's listening. I think I'm listening to more music now than I ever have around the house. I always have Spotify on. I always want to hear what I want to hear when I want to hear it. And I think part of it is because there are so many things we can't do that we're used to doing, and listening to the music that we feel like hearing all the time is one of those things. But live music, I mean, it's in another galaxy. And so the kids playing, they're not even kids anymore. They're professional musicians now. They're all college graduates. We met them when they were 14, 15 years old. And you should have seen the looks on their faces. They were so joyful. They were having you know how jazz musicians are so playful anyway. It's kind of what they do up there. They play and they improvise and they look at each other and they somehow they give each other the eye, and all of a sudden they get on the same page and go off on some journey.
The secret look.
Exactly. Is that what it is? The secret
I don't know.
It's like, you want to go? Let's go. And Julia was singing, and anyway, it was a great night. And so, yeah, virtual concerts are great, but I'm hoping that we can continue to take advantage of the nice weather and be outdoors and do a few more things. So,
well, do you reside in Skinny Atlas now?
I do. I've lived here for 12 years.
You used to live in Fayetteville, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I did. And my husband is from here, and so we decided to move out here, and it's been lovely. It's a really nice community, and yeah.
Boy, you're not kidding. It's a nice community.
Yeah. Being near the water, Nancy, it feeds the soul, right?
Oh my gosh! I'm looking at it right now.
You are.
It's one of my favorite places to go every summer. You mentioned Bill Eberhardt, and usually in about 2 weeks, it's right around Labor Day weekend, they have the big seafood fest out there.
I didn't get my wine.
It's actually sparkling water.
Oh, I didn't get my wine.
This is our 16th show. It's the first time she's forgotten her wine.
I have to go get it.
Nancy, Eric and I can hold down the fort while you pour your wine.
We'll chat. Go ahead. Go get your wine.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, Carrie.
You hold down the fort.
I'll hold down the fort. No, I was just going to talk about the fact that I just love Skinny Atlas. I'm in Liverpool, but I go out to Skinny Atlas a couple of times a year, and one of the times is for this event that Joe Whiting puts the music together, and I've seen a lot of young musicians grow there throughout the years, and Joe's band plays, and it's right there on the porch of the Sherwood, and it's this huge gathering. I'm sure you've probably
I've been there many times, and people are dancing, and it's usually is a big crowd in the past. standing shoulder to shoulder,
It
and
is.
can't do that right anymore.
No,
It was
and
for a while.
it's an event that I'm definitely gonna miss
Yeah.
being a part of. I've emceed that event for almost all of the 20 or so years that it's been going on. But no, there's just something quaint. I always feel like going out to Skinny Atlas, even though it's only about maybe 25 minutes from half hour from downtown. Skinny Atlas feels like a vacation unto itself. It just feels it's such a beautiful place, and to live there, I can only imagine it's
it's awesome. I feel very grateful. I think being near the water and just looking at it just sort of is good for your soul. And it sure is nice on a hot day too. So yeah,
I've seen a lot of great pictures you've put up on I don't know whether it's Facebook or somewhere. I mean, you're out on the water, or you're taking some beautiful sunset pictures. And
well, you know, I post them to Instagram, and then Instagram takes them and puts them on Facebook. I'm not really all that active on Facebook. I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit of a time suck. I'll sit down and I'll go on and I'll turn around, and more than an hour has passed, and I'll say to myself, oh, I could have been doing something really productive with this hour. So,
well, I'm guilty of that. I like to stick around, but I found Facebook is very good for musicians. Very, very good.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, the camaraderie and.
Well, it's just great to advertise what you're doing all the time.
Sure.
I am one person, oddly enough, that has kind of benefited from the unfortunate situation we're in, because I'm very computer literate, and I've been able to make videos of, you know, singing collaborations, and I've been very visible on Facebook. It's been good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you've got to get your music out. You've got to sing. You know, I mean, does a day go by, Nancy, without you singing?
Not lately.
Actually, a few do, because I'm very busy with my. No, I guess the answer to that is no. Because I teach and I'm singing with them all the time. We're singing scales, and I'm showing them my interpretation of a song and that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So but I've been practicing the past couple of weeks, because I have a live show coming up from Subcat Recording Studio, and you and I were there together.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful interval. We were trying to find it, but I guess it's not on YouTube.
Oh, it's not?
No.
I'll find it for you. Well, it was when your album came out, your tribute album.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got it on my website, I suppose, but I didn't want to play that all. We just wanted to sit and chat with you and find out, you know, what your life is like, since you're not in the public eye anymore.
Well, I am actually. I mean, I'm on television every day with now. So what happened was, in 2017, I stepped off the anchor desk to really pursue some more things that I was interested in, that I thought could benefit the community, the good news stories that I do about extraordinary people and places and the extraordinary talent. So for the last 3 years, I've been on the air almost every day doing extraordinary talent, extraordinary places, the conversation that I did with you. I'm on Mondays doing what's going around, illnesses in the community. And then when the coronavirus hit, the station called and said, you know, you've been covering health for 30 years in central New York. We would really love it if you did reporting for us on COVID, and we'd like to put you on every day. And so very few people actually go to the station. Most of the people, even on the air people, reporters, photographers who put the news together, are doing it remotely. Yeah. The only people who are really going in are the anchors, you know, Christy and Jeff in the evening, Dan in the morning. Anyway, so they said, you know, you can be safe, you can do them from home, and that's what I've been doing 5 days a week.
That's
and it's
wonderful.
Been fascinating. Yeah, really fascinating. So, and I think, you know, it's an interesting take for a local reporter to sort of try to sort of scan all of the news that's going on with this and try to present every day something that I think will be interesting to people here.
Do you find it hard not to be opinionated about it?
Well, you know, honestly, for all those years when I was on the anchor desk, I mean, you know, I've never let my own opinion influence my coverage of the news, to the extent that, look, we're all human beings, you know, we're not robots. They're not just feeding it in and it comes out the other side. I mean, yes, I think we all have emotions and we all have opinions, but I understand in this time why you asked that question, because it is such a divisive subject, and you know, people have such strong feelings about.
But I think even more, Carrie, even more, we've got so much entertainment news channels, rather than real journalism, which I consider you to be a journalist.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I do think that really started when the 24-hour news channels came on the air. And, you know, there's just not that much happening in the world where you can have fresh news reports by real journalists all day and all night. And so, and it's very expensive. So why not just bring in guests and they'll just sit up there and they'll just chat. And before you know it, you know, you're getting people's opinions. Then you get, you know, out of all of this, there's CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and all of these talking heads all day and all night. And, you know, that's never been what local news has been about. I really think that has been the salvation of local news, because you can't just get local news anywhere. You have to get it in your own community. And, you know, and we don't give you our opinions. We trust you to make up your own mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, because so many people are forming their belief systems on opinion TV.
Yes, they
and
are.
That frightens me personally, but you know.
Yeah.
But so we're grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you spent, what was it, 30 years on the anchor desk at Channel 9?
Actually a little bit more. So I went to Channel 9 in 1985. And so that would be 35 years ago. And Rod and I, up until our very last day as co-anchors, were the longest serving anchor team in America still on the air as of 2017.
How awesome is that?
Oh, there we are.
Hey.
Oh, isn't that a beautiful photo? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I figure there's no way we're going to chat with Carrie Lazarus and not have Rod Wood's name come up. So.
Of course. He's my buddy, and I miss him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I really do.
You were the second longest, or I didn't mean to disrupt your thought process when this picture came up, but you were saying you and Rod were the second.
We're the longest still on the air. There have been other anchor teams, Eric, that were on for longer, but they weren't still on the air when we passed that milestone. So, yeah, it's been a lot of years. I mean, we've spent a lot of hours sitting next to each other. I think, you know, in some cases more than we saw our own families. We saw each other for 90 minutes every day, and we were a captive audience. It's not like you could, you know, leave the room during the news. I mean, once in a while, but really. And during the commercials, we would catch up on life and, you know, have some laughs and try to keep it light. You know, the news can be heavy duty sometimes, and it's nice to just be able to sit with your really good friend and sometimes just crack up. And Rod is so funny.
Is he really?
Oh my gosh.
I have heard that about Rod, that he off the air is a hoot.
He's hilarious. Well, first of all, he does imitations of everybody. He does a better Dick McPherson than Dick McPherson. I mean, he's like, you know, I mean, he can just imitate anybody. He makes up songs. He's just so funny. Yeah. I mean, if you only knew. But anyway.
But you mentioned just if you could expand on that, the family atmosphere. I mean, not just with Rod, but coming into work every day, and the whether it be whoever the meteorologist was that day, whoever was doing sports, the people behind the cameras. I mean, when you do it for that long a period of time, I imagine that so many of those people became very close to you personally.
I mean, you think of, because, and one of the reasons, Eric, is because it was the same people. I mean, you think about Dan Cummings, Christy Casciano, Dave Eichhorn, Dave Longley, now Stephen Fonte, who was a kid when he showed up. I think he's been there for almost 20 years. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe not 20, maybe 17 years. But yes, it's, I think that honestly is one of the reasons for the success of Channel 9 is because we had the same people. And I think there's a familiarity and a trust that people look for in local news. And there are a lot of markets and stations where, every few months you turn on the news and, well, who's that person? And who's that, and people like to see consistency.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And what do you remember? When we have a jazz musician on, I'll always ask, was there a jazz epiphany for you? Was there a particular recording that just made you say, you know what? I need to become immersed in this music. I need to become a musician. For you, what really gave you, how can I say this? What gave you the inspiration to become a journalist?
Well, I went to high school, in the aftermath of Watergate. And Watergate really was what made the country appreciate journalism. I mean, it was journalists that exposed that story. It was Woodward and Bernstein. It was their tenacious reporting that told the country what was going on, what seemed like an innocent, unrelated break-in turned out to be. And it led to the resignation of the President of the United States. And I think the level of respect for journalists in the mid-1970s, it became a truly noble profession. And a lot of the best and brightest young people were motivated to become journalists. And so I think I was swept up in that as well. So the first thing I did was I became a reporter for my high school newspaper. I went to Lincoln High School in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed it. I loved writing. I'm a very curious person by nature. And so I thought I'd be a newspaper reporter, just like Woodward and Bernstein. And then we were living in New York City. So the very first wave of women journalists started showing up on the television news in New York City. And my dad said to me, Carol, I think you'd be really good at that. He said, it's journalism, but it's an opportunity here. I think there are going to be a lot of jobs for women. It was Diane Sawyer and Jane Pauley and Connie Chung and, the first wave of women who really opened the door for the rest of us. So I started reading about it. And of course, there was a lot in the news about these women who were really breaking a bit of a glass ceiling. And I started looking at colleges that had good programs for broadcast journalism. And the Newhouse School at Syracuse University kept coming up on top of everybody's list.
Sure.
And so I decided to go to Syracuse. I went to Brooklyn College my first year because we couldn't afford 4 years of Syracuse University.
Yeah.
But by the time I arrived as a sophomore, and it was great. And what happened after that, I basically never left.
Is that a good thing? Do you find that that's a really good thing?
It is. It's funny. I was going to be Katie Couric in my mind. I was going to take over the Today Show after Jane Pauley decided to hang it up. And that really was my goal. I always thought that would be one of the most challenging and interesting jobs in television, to be on a morning show where, you have to pivot from interviewing, you know, presidents and CEOs of corporations, and then the next minute you'd be cooking with Emerald, and you'd be interviewing a movie star, and then you have to think on your feet, and you have to be quick and glib, and I just thought that would be such a great goal. But then I got to Syracuse, and I really liked it here, and I thought, I don't know, maybe I'll stay. I almost left for a job in Denver, and I came back, and I really began to question whether that's really what I wanted, or if it was just sort of chasing something that I thought would be the path that I needed to go on. And I decided to stay in Syracuse. And then the next week, I had been at Channel 5 at that point. I worked with the great Ron Curtis. I mean, he was a wonderful mentor to me. But he always got all the fun parts. He always got to do the live interviews. He always got to lead off the newscast. There I am. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I was hoping this wasn't going to embarrass you, but I mean...
No, it doesn't embarrass me. I mean, my daughters kind of make fun of me. Mom, you look so young. I was.
Oh, you look young
I might have been 24 years old in this picture, Nancy.
Oh my
24 years old. So anyway, one day after I made the decision that I was not going to Colorado, right, I got a call from Steve Cronquist, who was the general manager at Channel 9, which was then WIXT. And he said, would you like to go to lunch? And I thought to myself, I wonder why he wants to take me to lunch. And a friend of mine said, well, he's probably maybe looking to hire you away from Channel 5. Why don't you go listen to what he has to say? So I thought to myself, what could be better than what I'm doing at Channel 5? Maybe getting more opportunities, maybe not doing the 11 o'clock news anymore. It's hard to work nights. And so I thought, well, maybe I could get more opportunities, do more interviews, and not have to work nights anymore. And since he was coming to me, he said, well, what would it take to get you to switch stations? And I said, well, I told him, I said, I'd like to be able to have more chances to do live interviews and to do more interesting reporting. And I'd like to work during the day and do the evening news and then go home. And I'm sure he was probably thinking, when he said, what would it take to get you to come? He probably thought I was going to ask for a whole bunch of money. And when I said, well, I don't want to work nights and I want to do more. And he said, well, done. And then I thought, well, I should have asked him for a whole bunch of money, but I didn't.
Haven't we all been there? We've all been there.
Anyway, so that was that. And then I got to work with this beautiful group of people at Channel 9 who really have become my family through all these years. And we were the number 3 station at the time. But they put together a great team, at the time, also Rick Gary and Doug Logan. And I mean, we had the best people. And slowly but surely, we became the number 1 station. And we have been number 1 for all those years. It took about maybe 2 or 3 years. But once we became number 1, we stayed there. And I'm
quite honestly, it's where I turn when I look at local news.
Oh, thank you.
And yep. I watch the Spectrum thing a lot because they have such comprehensive weather.
Yes.
And I need that because of where I live. So I've got to be up on that all the time. So I've gotten into that habit. But the weather on Channel 9 is just, one of the best information sources on TV. There's no question.
I mean, everybody who's there was trained by Dave Eichhorn. I mean, right. Jim Teskey was a high school intern coming in, whenever he had free time, and Dave Eichhorn would just take him under his wing. And he did the same thing for Dave Longley. And, Dave Eichhorn is just such a passionate scientist. And, he would always say, he always called himself a weather geek, and he was chasing tornadoes, and he was just so passionate about it.
Yeah, but
and,
that came through.
was
That came through in the segment.
Yes, it did.
It really did. And when you see someone that's really serious, you're not just seeing somebody click the thing and it's going to ring and it's going to, like, he was really into it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was really into it. Yeah. Exactly. And it was contagious. So it was Dave Longley and Jim Teskey, and of course now Kate, and I mean the rest of the team. They're all great. So
Somebody said, we have the chat box going here, and Rosalind Blue has said a couple things. She said Jessica Savage was an interesting newsmaker.
Yeah.
Yes, she was. I actually am remiss in not including her in that original wave, because she certainly was, along with Judy Woodruff, who really is, the frontline person at PBS now. And Judy was at NBC for a long time. So, and then, other women like Christiane Amanpour and Meredith Vieira. I mean, there have been some really great. In fact, I have a good Meredith Vieira story. You never really know what these people are like. When I graduated from Syracuse University, my boyfriend at the time was at a delicatessen in Manhattan, and in walks Meredith Vieira. And Meredith was a reporter at WCBS in New York. Oh. And he struck up a conversation with her, and he said, my girlfriend is she just graduated, she's looking for her first job in television. And Meredith wrote down her phone number on the napkin and handed it to him and said, "Oh, have her call me. I'll have her come up to the studio." And so I called her. She had me up to WCBS. I was so starstruck. I don't know if you remember, John Stossel was there. He was a consumer reporter there. Sure. And I forgot the name of the anchor man who'd been there forever. He's no longer with us. Jim, I can't think of his name. Anyway, I met everyone, and she was so kind to me. And I ended up getting my own job in a much smaller market, but I never forgot that. And ever since then, when any young person has called or written to me, I've always said, "Come on in, let's meet. I'll look at your tape, we'll talk about it." And you want to hear a very funny story? So among the many letters I got was one from a young David Muir.
Wow.
He still has the letter I wrote him back. He wrote 2 letters, one to me and one to Ron Curtis, and said, "I'm only in middle school, but I know I want to be a journalist. Can I come in?" And I answered him, and Ron answered him. And of course, when Ron Curtis says, come to the station, that's where you go. And that's where he went. But we still laugh about it today because he still has the letter that I wrote him back. And anyway, that's just what can happen when you say yes to a young person. You know this, Nancy. If you can be a mentor to someone, it's the greatest gift you can give. So Meredith she really showed me that that's what you do. To whom much is given, much is expected. And I've done it for lots of other people. And it's one of the joys of my career.
She was your secret angel.
She was.
She was.
She was. And I met her years later. Remember when she was doing The View with Barbara Walters?
Sure.
So, and I went to see the show, and I spoke to her afterwards. And of course, she didn't remember me, but I told her what she had done for me. And yeah, she was very pleased to hear that I still remembered it.
A friend of mine did all the intros and outros. He was living in Oswego. He lives in Oswego, and he pre-recorded all the stuff for The View.
Oh, he did?
The View, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of my students, actually. But that was way prior to me meeting him. It's so interesting because there's a lot of that stuff that is done remotely that people don't realize that it's not happening right there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, we thought that it was only that kind of thing, and look at how we're all putting together newscasts now. I mean, I literally get up in the morning, I do my research, I write the story about coronavirus. My husband shoots me in our sunroom on my iPhone, leaned up against one of our dining room chairs with a lamp shining in my face for light.
Wow.
I plug the microphone into my iPad, we record it and then we upload it and we send it to Channel 9, and somehow they make it look like magic.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good. The iPhones are amazing, and
They really are.
People can hardly tell the difference. You know, they really can. It's interesting. You said something that I wanted to comment on earlier, and it really struck home with me, in that you said you questioned, is this what I really want to do? You know, when you were talking about being in New York. And I find myself, especially since I've been home a lot, I find myself going, you know, I kind of like being home. I really don't want to go on the road. I think I'm over that. Like, I don't know that it's sort of serendipitous that it all kind of worked out the way it did, you know, being here and not having to travel so much. And
yeah, I know what you mean. But don't you miss your live audiences? Don't you miss your adoring fans? I'm sure they miss you.
Well, they show up here on Facebook every now and then.
Oh,
I do. That's why I was so moved with the intro we did, the intro video, which you can go back and see this show. It will we'll give you a link to. I put it up on YouTube, so if you and your husband can watch it, and if you want. But somebody please remind me what on earth I was just talking about.
Oh, you were talking about going to New York.
Your fans, yes.
You were talking about going to New York and just, well, you know, I'm sure you thought the same thing, Nancy. Like, you always think that bigger is better, that a bigger city would have to be better than Syracuse, and that you have to leave Syracuse to have a great career. And I think I feel very blessed with the career that I have had and continue to have in Syracuse, New York. You don't have to be at the Today Show to really feel like you're making an impact. In fact, maybe in Syracuse you can have more of an impact.
Well, there's no question that I have changed people's lives for the better. There is no question of my impact in teaching. And some of my students are in our chat right now.
Oh, nice.
And I get so much gratification from seeing their eyes just like when I tell them certain things, and it just sinks in. It's that aha moment, you know. It's like, wow, you know, as if I was busy on the road all the time, I wouldn't be able to have that kind of interaction with people.
Right.
Perhaps there are no mistakes. Maybe this is to be, you know. And I think that's I just wanted to go back and talk about that, because I think all of us in the industry have these moments where you think, oh, this would be better, this might be better.
Sure.
But then also, I'm having a really sort of an epiphany of thinking, wow, I'm making a big impact here, and I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy.
Yeah. I agree with you. And it's been a great life in Syracuse. Syracuse is a wonderful place to raise a family. I mean, I think my parents moved here from Brooklyn.
Did they really?
Did.
Are they still with us?
No. The year before my first daughter was born, the year before my Emily was born, in 1988, my parents moved to Syracuse to be near me. They knew at that point that I had made the decision to stay here and make my life here. And it was kind of easy for them because I'm an only child, so they didn't have to pick.
Hey, that makes two of us. Only child,
really?
Right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they moved here, and honestly, I think it was one of the reasons why I was able to have a family and a career, because they were always available to watch the girls. I have two daughters. Emily is 31 and Danny is 27. And, you know, if they were sick and had to stay home from school, I still had to go to work. And so it would be, you know, Papa who'd come over, and my mom would, you know, spell him, and we'd have dinner with them. And I mean, it was every Saturday night my dad babysat. My girls didn't know what it was like to have a teenage babysitter on a Saturday night, because my parents were always here. So I feel very blessed.
You know what's interesting? I have it's a similar story, only it's from the other side. So I had my little girl to bring up And rather than trying to bring her up in New York City, I stayed here I'm from Rochester, as you know, and I stayed here near my family, and I have an extensive family. And even though I divorced, I stayed and still am very close with her father's family.
Yeah.
And we're all tight. We all look out for each other. And it was a beautiful thing for Kelly, because even when I was working and gigging and all this stuff, she had family.
Yeah.
She was with family.
Right.
And
it's
it
so
was
important.
You know, in hindsight, it was a good move. I mean, it wasn't good for my career, and I complain a lot about that. I'll say staying in Central New York has been difficult for me, but
Yeah.
it, you know, in hindsight, it was great. It was a great choice to make.
Yeah.
And I love that whole thing. I mean, I love the small town thing. I think about it all the time when I'm driving, and I think, oh, you know, this traffic is very doable.
Yeah. It is, and it's, you know, a much more affordable place, and look where you're sitting. You're looking out on the water. I mean, if you were in the New York City area, you know, you just can't have anything like that unless you're, you know, Lady Gaga.
Well, it turned out, yeah, right. It turned out to be a blessing, because especially during this pandemic. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in it. I can go out. You asked me the other day, when we were talking, I said I had just been out for a bike ride and a walk, and you said, well, where do you go? And I said, well, I go in the Fairhaven Beach State Park.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Oh, those sunsets that you have up there?
They're legendary.
World class.
They're legendary. Somebody told me once they compare only to the sunsets in Hawaii.
Wow.
Did you ever?
I've never been to Hawaii, so I don't know.
No, neither have I. But there's a great jazz club there, and there's several jazz clubs. There's a great jazz station that plays my records to this day.
Oh,
so
nice.
I mean, if we ever get out of this, it'd be fun to go there. You know, just it's a heck of a ride, though. It's a long flight.
It sure is. Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it. Especially now, you have to wear a face mask. Ooh,
Yeah,
I
right?
couldn't do that.
I mean,
know.
to piggyback on what Nancy said, and really what the two of you have been talking about, I mean, I myself, when I came here, starting as a freshman at Syracuse in the fall of 1989, and spending a lot of time at a station that I do believe, Carrie, you had some time at as well, WAER.
Yes. I
Oh,
did my
I'm
very
so
first
glad.
radio broadcast there.
Let's hear about this.
Well, you know, I'll finish my point, but I want to hear about Carrie's AER memories. But just my point being that when I graduated in '93, I never would have imagined that Syracuse would become my home, and it would be the place where I found my wife. I mean, even though we're no longer together, we do still keep in touch. But I have made so many wonderful friends, two of whom I'm talking to right now, and it still never gets old when people say to me, or they'll hear my voice and say, I was out at a place in Manlius recently, and one of the store owners there said, "Oh, I know you, Eric, right?" He had seen me, and I'm sure we've all experienced that moment where maybe Nancy from being on stage, Carrie from being on camera for over 30 years, me for being on a microphone. It's like it is nice to sometimes get recognized from your face to your voice. So again, it's just I'm so thrilled that this has been my home for the better part of more than half of my life, and I wouldn't change it for anything. So anyway,
I agree. I second that. You know, and I think one of the reasons why I enjoy doing my extraordinary programs, and the idea for it really came from exactly what you just said. I think this is a wonderful place to live. And I think a lot of people from Central New York are down on this area because of the weather, because of the great skies, because of, you know, we've lost a lot of great factories and companies and all of that. And not to minimize the hurt that has caused for so many people. But in general, the people here are warm and genuine, and you can have a good life here. So I think you're right. And so I went to the then general manager of Channel 9, Teresa Underwood at the time, and I said, I have an idea for a TV show. about how extraordinary some of the people and places in central New York are. And she said, I love it. Do it. So, you know, we need more good news. I think sometimes we need to be reminded of all the beautiful places we have. The sunsets in Fairhaven and the crystal clear water of Skaneateles and all the great places to hike and
fresh air to breathe.
I mean, even though it's not happening this year, the New York State Fair. I mean, you know, of all the places in New York.
That's an interesting place. Did you ever work there? Did you have to do the booth thing at the fair?
Oh, you must have done the booth plenty of times, right?
Oh my God. I did. So when I was at Channel 5 100 years ago, we were the first station to do the newscast live from the fair.
That's cool.
And Ron Curtis and I, and remember Jack Slater, who did the weather?
Yes.
And Jack Slater and Jack Morse. We were the team. Ron and Carrie and Jack. And we did the news live from the New York State Fair. And it was a revelation for people to see the newscasters, see the cameras, see the lights. I mean, it seems so, you know, mundane now because everybody at the fair comes and sees us, and we've been doing it forever. But Channel 5, so yeah, I mean, God, it really go back far. Yes, so I've done it, and I have to say, some of the best connections I've made with people from Central New York have happened when they've walked up to that booth at the fair and they want to talk about something they saw on the news, or maybe they want you to sign an autograph, and then you'll see them, you know, years later and say, "Oh, I met you at the state fair." And yeah, I feel that you're right.
I feel that same way when WAER, and I still want to get Carrie's memories of her time there. When we had a booth at the Syracuse Jazz Fest, and people would come up to the booth and get to see not just myself, but our morning edition anchors or our afternoon news anchors, and it's cool to get to see them when they're not on camera, when they're in a relaxed atmosphere, and you know, they want to take a picture. I never got asked for any autographs myself, but, you know, it's those connections, whether it be festivals or whether they be at the fair, that stay with you. And you do realize that the people here, and I have said this for so many years, the people in Central New York are they're just good people, and that's why it makes living here. Despite, yes, we get a lot of flack for the winters that we have, but the people that we have here are really good people.
Yeah, we also have the best summers on earth anywhere.
I agree.
I mean, this summer in particular, has there been a more perfect summer?
Well,
I can't remember one.
Has it been too hot?
I suppose, you know, I try not to complain about it.
No.
A few years ago, we didn't have air conditioning until about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh.
So that was my sort of global warming, proof of global warming, because when we didn't have it for years, and then all of a sudden we needed it, it was hot. So we put it in upstairs in the bedrooms, and it's been on since June. So
I haven't had mine off either for
oh my gosh,
3 months.
Well, you know what, Eric, us women, we can't take the heat. Hello.
Yes. No, I'm well aware of that.
Oh, you and I can take the heat, but not that kind of heat.
Not that kind of heat. So no, I won't complain about a summer where it hasn't rained on the weekends. You know how we live for our weekends, so it's been pretty darn nice.
Summers and falls.
Yeah.
Central New York are a thing of beauty, you know?
I've done more swimming this summer than I've done in many, many years.
Me too.
It's right across the street. I jump in and it's just wonderful.
Yeah. It sure is.
So,
yes, Eric.
Before you, can I just get, because we've teased it a bit, and we just hear Carrie talk a little bit about my dear old station that I worked at for 25 years, WSYR, because everybody knows Carrie is this television personality, award-winning personality. We should have mentioned earlier that she and Rod were inducted into the New York State Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame, right, in 2011, I believe.
Yes, and I can just tell you a very quick story about that night. It was at the Sagamore Hotel in Lake George, and we went there for the induction, and the other 3 inductees were Brian Williams from NBC News, Deborah Norville, and Regis Philbin.
Oh, we were just talking about
Yes, Reg. So, you know, I had not seen him in person. He's shorter than I am, and I'm 5'4".
Wow.
And I got up to, you know, give my little thank you for getting the award. And I said, and I would really love to thank my husband, Dave, who has been so great about always having to wait until 7:30 to have dinner because I don't get home in time to cook until then. And also for never minding being called Mr. Lazarus. So people laughed, and I thought that was the end of it. Well, after people got their awards, we went out to the bar to get a drink, and Regis is standing there. And he says to Dave, now my husband Dave is 6'2", so Regis has to look way up at him, and he says, Mr. Lazarus, I wouldn't stand for that. And he just started cracking up. So that was my Regis memory and my Regis moment.
Well,
anyway, we lost him, and he had quite a career, boy.
And look what I just.
Oh, yeah. There you
look
go.
What I just found.
There's Reg from that night. Yep, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I never got a chance to meet Regis. My father luckily did. He got to play piano and accompany Regis on his show a few times. But all the accounts I've read is that Regis off camera was just a wonderful, wonderful human being. And it was so sad to hear that we lost him earlier. And it's nice that, you know, you have that memory of meeting him that night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Reg.
That's right. That's right. I mean, what other Regises are there? I mean, everybody knows there's. You mentioned Regis, it's got to be Philbin. So
exactly.
Yeah.
This brings up an interesting thought, and I've been thinking about it with the two of us girls sitting here, and thinking about the great careers we've both had, and thinking about how we're talking about going out in public and being the people we've become through our work. Do you find that you are the same person on camera as you are off camera?
I mean, it's interesting. I once read, well, Dan Rather wrote a book once called The Camera Never Blinks. And what he was really trying to say with that phrase was that over time, people see who you are. If you're on television every day, delivering the news in a community where you live and work and are raising a family, people get to know the real you, good, bad, and ugly sometimes. And I think, so yeah, I think I am the same person. I think that I have a great enthusiasm and a curiosity and an interest, and I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my work, and I want to get it right for the viewers. I don't think that, you know, good is not good enough. It's got to be the best. And I'm hard on myself. And yeah, I think, but my enthusiasm for being a good journalist and serving the community is really, I think I hope people see that. I mean,
it's your core. It's in the core of who you are. And that's what I was saying. So I have what's funny for me is not having my audience. So earlier we were talking about your audience. So you have a different experience because you're in front of a camera. You're not really in front of your people. So you get to be in front of your people when you do something at the fair and things like that. We all make those personal appearances. But I get laughing at myself because I have no audience. So, and during the day, I mean, you know, I don't wear makeup and I'm in yucky clothes and I got my hair pulled back with stuff because I can't stand it in my face. And the UPS man comes and I just turn right into Nancy Kelly. Like, just like, hey, oh, thank you. Like, it's all funny. He's
Yeah,
like
a little
audience all
a
of a
little
sudden.
scat, Nancy. Do a little scat for him.
Well, I don't know. It might go over his head. I don't know.
Being in radio and behind a microphone for all these years, and I guess part of it maybe is being, well, I should say not being a guy, because obviously guys on TV have to go through the same thing that women do. What I'm getting at is that three words that have never really been in my vocabulary are hair and makeup.
Makeup.
You know,
I was just thinking about that. This is the first. I mean, it's the only time all week long I put makeup on.
Oh, I know. Me too. Well, I have to do it in the morning for my when I record the my segments, but I don't wear nearly as much as I do when you're in the studio and you have all those lights. And it's summer now, so we're all a little tan. And yeah, and I think honestly, I think viewers are now very used to seeing people reporting from home, not fully made up, you know, looking just like they would expect us to look if they bumped into us. So, and it's kind of great. I, you know, as women who sort of age in front of the camera, I remember, do you remember when Christine Kraft was fired? She was a news anchor somewhere in the Midwest. And she claimed it was because she sued the station. She said it was because she was aging and whatever. And I remember hearing an interview at the time saying, gee, I wonder, it'll be interesting to see if women are allowed to grow old on television, because it's okay for men. Yeah. You know, Walter Cronkite, you know, he was a senior citizen. You know, would they allow women to be gray, wrinkled, whatever, what happens to all of us? And somebody was saying about, gee, it'll be interesting to see if women can go into their 60s on television. And I thought, whoa, at the time it sounded like, that sounded really old to me. And now it doesn't sound old to me at all.
No.
Yeah,
I'm going to be 70 in October.
Nancy, you look amazing.
Well, I have a little bit of good lighting right now.
Well, what kind of good lighting do you have? I need to get me some of that good lighting.
Oh, no, thank you. No, I don't look amazing, but it's okay. Thank you.
Do. You do. No, and you know what?
Glasses. If I take my glasses off,
I think you look great.
Like a grandma.
You still look amazing, but
thank you.
I've never, I get it, but it's just sad that there's always been that double standard. That,
there is. Yeah.
Men can age on TV, but God forbid a woman getting into her 60s. Oh no, I don't think we want to see her on camera.
I think if the industry was run by women, you wouldn't see that.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, if any industry was run by women,
yeah, you wouldn't see.
We've been waiting for that for a long time.
It's good to feel empowered. I still do. I admit that I still color my hair. I wish I had good gray hair. I don't.
You know what? Honestly, during coronavirus, I've been coloring my own hair.
Oh yeah, I use one Madison Reed. I'm not plugging them, but it's all natural, by the way. No ammonia.
That's great.
Very healthy.
My roots. I actually went to the hairdresser for the first time last week. As soon as the salons opened, all of my friends immediately ran to the salon. Oh. And I just thought, you know, everybody is ready when they are ready and not before for anything. And I think with what's going on right now, we all have to have a comfort level with what we do. And we make these individual decisions. What I decide to do might not be good for Nancy, and what Nancy decides to do might be different, Eric, than what you feel comfortable with.
Right.
And I wasn't ready. And I went, and, you know, I had a great experience, and, but, you know, it's just different times. But I feel like it's kind of liberating to not have to fuss so much.
Isn't it? Oh,
it is.
And then, like I said, I could still put on a performance for the UPS guy, so it's great. I'm not missing anything. It's like
that's a lucky guy, the one who comes.
Oh, you know, I'm exaggerating. And,
I mean, Carrie, you talked about back in the, I guess 70s, 80s, where women were breaking glass ceilings in the news industry. I mean, here we are in 2020, and we were just talking about if only, you know, there were more women executives. I mean, do you feel that now, I mean, let's face it, there are women that are breaking barriers, whether it be in the athletic field, whether it be in the economic industry, whether it be, I mean, there's a lot of fields where women are in high-level positions now that were just unheard of 30 years ago. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on the strides that women have made in terms of trying to, you know, we need to see more female CEOs and executives. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, do you feel there's more progress? Well, there certainly is more progress to be made, but how do you look at the landscape now as far as the position that women have in our society, and is it still as tough a struggle?
Well, I think, you know, depending on the industry, but when you talk about, you know, women in politics, I mean, you can name all the female senators. I mean, right. You know, you can name all the female CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. I think we're up to like 7 or 8. I mean, yeah. It's just, we should be beyond that. Yeah. I think you can name the powerful women in Hollywood. You can name them all. And right. That, you know, and when you think about it, that affects what the culture sees every day. You can name the executives at the highest level of network television. There just aren't enough of them. And there are lots of reasons why. Right. But I think until we see more of it, we are going to have the repercussions of that. The female mind, women look at things differently than men. There's a different sensibility. I'm not saying it's better, but in some ways it is better. And in some ways, I think in this time in our world today, when we need more compassion and more empathy, and we need to think about our well-being and our lives, you know, as mothers, I do think that we bring a certain perspective. When you bring life into the world, your heart is forever changed by that, and so is your mind. And so I think that women are needed more than ever to step into roles. But I think that one of the unfortunate things is that coronavirus has set women back, because now many are being asked to work from home and take care of children who are not going back to school. Teach your children. I mean, there's just so much a human being can do.
Hello.
Right. Hello. So I think that is really why, not just because of equality and because it's right. It's because women bring something to the table that the world needs now.
Yeah, I'm not sure that will change very quickly, though, unfortunately, because I mean, when you're dealing with DNA and men and the whole testosterone thing, I mean, that's just not going to change. They have that need to solve problems and go get the meat and bring it home, and you know, there's that whole thing that, I mean, we're getting there. I think we're getting there, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I think men have a hard time, you know, with their feminine side, which is what we need. You know, I certainly don't have a hard time with my masculine side because I'm very, you know, I don't know what the word is. I can't say that. I'm pushy. That's not the right word.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that, because when a man is assertive, it is a good quality. Right. When a woman is assertive, she's pushy. So
yeah, right. Exactly. I'm trying to express myself here. Yeah. You know, and I'm sorry. But I think we'll get there. I can tell you, I have no trouble moving through the world at all. And the people who are around me don't mind my strength. And it tells me that we are getting there, you know.
Yeah.
Well, certainly these last few months have shined a light on, far more inequality than we're talking about. Having women running companies and making decisions in politics, in business, in the arts, it's all very important. We've also learned
I have no desire to
so
know,
much
to know
inequality
your
that goes beyond
political.
the sex. So
We don't want
we
to
got
know.
a lot of work to do in this country.
Yeah, no question. I mean,
Well,
that those lists that you talked about, where you can name all of them, those lists need to get longer.
They do.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will over time. We're down to our last about 10 minutes or so on.
See, and Carrie said an hour and a half.
I mean,
I said, don't you worry, it'll go right by.
Normally, Carrie.
There's a few viewers who did want to hear the end of the WAER story.
Yes. Your memories of working at WAER when you were at Syracuse.
Yes. So it was sort of, even though it wasn't part of your class credit, it wasn't okay. And now on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 11, you'll work at the radio station. It was something that was an opportunity for people who are interested in broadcasting. Of course, in broadcasting, you don't start on television, you start on the radio. And I remember I was learning how to write copy for a radio newscast. And I went upstairs. Back then, WAER was located in the Newhouse school, Newhouse 1 on the top floor, right?
Yes.
And I went up there and I said, so how do I get in on this? I would love to read the news. And so they asked me to make a tape, and I did, and I sounded like I was about 7. And anyway, so I really tried to work on my writing skills, and eventually they said, okay, tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, you're going to be reading the news. And I was like, be careful what you wish for. And I did. And I remember I was so nervous, but I thought, what an opportunity. And it really, I think that was one of the aha moments for me at Syracuse University, when I thought, wow, this is why I'm at the Newhouse School, because you can go up, you can go to the other floor, and there's a radio station, a real radio station with real journalists and real programming. This was not, it was a great opportunity. And then I did it for a while, and then it actually helped me get a job at WHEN radio. You remember 62 WHEN?
Yeah.
That was my first paying job.
Wow.
I did I worked from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Several days a week. And then I would go to class. And you know who my boss was back then? Bill Carey.
Oh.
You remember Bill Carey, great journalist who we lost way too young.
Yes, usually always had a cigarette in his mouth.
He always had a cigarette in his mouth. And he always had a newspaper in the other hand. Anyway, so Bill was a terrific mentor. So I started working there in the summer after my junior year. I remember I didn't own a car. I didn't know how to drive a car. So I got my driver's license. My parents got me a car, and I was able to take the job. And then winter came, and I had to be at the station at 5 a.m. Now I'm a brand new driver, and it's winter in Syracuse.
Oh.
And one morning, and I'm literally 19 years old. So I get on Route 81, and it had snowed a lot. And I had a little Ford Mustang, a used car, and it wasn't great in the snow. And it was probably had 6 inches of snow, and I was all over the road. And it only was, from Adams Street up to Liverpool to the radio station.
Yep.
And I didn't think I could make it. The plows hadn't been out yet. So I got off at the first exit, and I went to a phone booth. Remember when you didn't have a phone in your
hand? To a phone booth, right?
Right. And I went to a gas station that had a phone booth, and I called Bill, and I said, Bill, I can't get there. And it was, 4:30 in the morning, and he had newscast to put on, and he needed my help, and he fired me.
What? Oh.
He fired
How?
me. Well, because he said, look, the news doesn't stop because it's a snowstorm. In fact, in Syracuse, it's more important than ever to be in the station for a snowstorm. People need to know the news. And anyway, that's my Bill Carey story.
Yeah,
I mean, I learned a lot from him, and that's not my enduring memory of him, but I will never forget that he
Wow,
fired
that's hard. But we didn't have the cars we have now to get,
No,
we
we
can get
didn't.
through it. If we just take our time, we can get
Yeah.
through it.
Right.
Usually. you
Yeah.
know. But
So,
I used to drive a little beetle bug back then, and it
Yeah.
would go over the snowdrifts.
Right. Anyway, well, to answer your question, Eric, about WAER, very fond memories and
Yeah.
wonderful opportunities for budding broadcast journalists.
No
So,
question. I mean, again, I know a lot of people who started in radio and have gone on to careers in TV, and you could have a great camera presence, you could have the best pipes in the business, but I'll tell you what, you don't know if you don't develop into a good writer,
yes.
then that you're not really going to go as far as you want to go. So I know that radio is a place where the great TV personalities, I will tell you that's
Yeah.
where they perfected their writing skills, was starting in radio.
Oh, and a lot of the people who I work with today, we all worked at WHEN. Dan
Right.
Cummings, Christy. I
Yeah.
mean, Rod worked at WNDR.
I did
think
too.
you
Did
might
you
have
know
worked there,
that?
too.
Oh
You
yeah,
did?
I was a DJ at WNDR.
that's right.
I got paid for it. And then I was the first female voice on 93Q.
Wow. I remember listening to you.
Get out!
Wow.
The new 93Q.
Listen to
There
that.
you go. So good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. And you know what radio also teaches you is how to meet a deadline, because the radio deadlines come along every hour for the news people. And
Sure.
if news is breaking and you are just trying to bang out some copy, you know that red light goes on whether you're ready or not. So you better be ready.
Yeah, I've always wondered what that's like. Before you're doing a 6 o'clock newscast or an 11 o'clock newscast at night, or even a morning newscast, and 20 minutes before news is breaking, it's like, is that chaos in the
Yeah.
studio?
It is chaos. It is. And, that's why you really need to be read in every day on what's going on, because you never know when you'll be called upon just to, you don't make it up, but you get the information, but it's not written out for you. So that's where you need the context. That's where having people who've been in the community a long time, that's where that comes in. You get context, you get background, people have a history, they understand what the neighborhood is, where something's happening, where it is. Anyway, so absolutely, yeah, deadlines and breaking news, but I kind of always loved it. I sort of I equate myself to the basketball player who wants the ball with 5 seconds to go because you're going to shoot it. I've always loved being the person who gets to do the breaking news. It's kind of it's a challenge. It's sort of a rush.
I bet.
Yeah. So
That's great.
I like it. It's one of the things I miss about being on the news every night. But Rod probably doesn't miss it, because I used to kind of say, Rod, I'll do that. And be like, he's a great sport. Rod is a cheerleader for everybody he works with. And I think he was my biggest cheerleader for all those years.
Oh my gosh. And I know he did have a health scare a few years ago, and we're glad that he's
Yeah.
that.
Oh, he's in good health. By the way, I mean, I do speak with him, and he's in good health. And he's just, it's not safe for him to be coming to the station every day right now. So.
Right. Understand.
Yeah.
Well, what do you see for the near future for what you're doing? And you're doing these segments on the COVID and all that stuff. And
Yes.
Do you have anything churning in your head?
Well, I do, because we're trying to prepare the end of the year extraordinary show, which will happen this year. That event at the Sherwood with Julia Goodwin and the band, we did tape that. The whole crew was out there from Channel 9, so that will be part of the show. And then we're going to have other performances from other extraordinary talent, and just like we do every year, but some of it will be done virtually, and there'll be some collaborations, and we've got some cool things. I think it's going to be a great show, so we're working hard on that now. And yeah, that's really been what I've been spending a lot of time on the last few weeks planning for. And then I'll have a special Extraordinary People and Places on in October. So I'm working on that right now. And the thing that I don't know about is the weekly Extraordinary Talent profiles that we do on the news, because, you know, what is school going to look like? And, you know, how is that going to work? And anyway, it's evolving before our very eyes. We'll see how it goes. And if schools are open and things are safe and the kids are safe and the faculty and staff, and that means that we can go in with our cameras and be safe, it'll be great. And if not, we'll think of another way to do it, because, you know, to me, that's a really important part of what I'm doing, is highlighting the arts and letting people know how important it is and how it feeds the soul. I mean, sports gives a community its spirit, no doubt. We all love sports, but the arts, music, is what gives our town its soul. And I have this feeling like, more than ever, these young people who are dreaming of working in music someday and who are just living their best life, and some of them are staying out of trouble, and some of them are keeping busy with it, and others are just having fun. Everybody goes to music for different reasons. So I'm hoping that comes back in September. That's my plan. We'll see. I said the other day to somebody I was interviewing, man plans and God laughs. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So true. Hey, last thing for me, how can people give to your
the Extraordinary Talent Fund?
The Extraordinary Talent Fund. Is there a website?
Yep, it's, you ready?
Go ahead.
CNYCF.org/extraordinary. CNYCF.org/extraordinary. You can give online, and anything is appreciated. The kids are amazing. They so value the community support. It's been really incredible. So thank you.
Well, as you'll see in the video when you watch the replay, I mean, so many people truly appreciate what you have done for them and for the arts in Central New York. And I even saw another video, which we didn't share tonight, the young man Tevin Johnson, who was kind of the inspiration behind.
He was.
And he's now. He's still with a dance company now?
Yes. Well, he's a professional dancer in New York City. Unfortunately, you know, there's nobody to dance in front of right now. And in fact, dance is one of the performing arts that has been particularly hard hit, because you have to be close.
Right.
You can play music in a room together and everybody can be 6 feet or even 10 feet apart. But when you dance, unless you're dancing by yourself, you have to be, you know, it's so intimate. You're so close. So it's been very challenging for the dance world. So,
so it's challenging times for all of us. I mean, 2020 has been a year unlike any. I mean, it's one that we'll always remember. And but
yeah, the year we stopped hugging each other.
I know, that's how we started the show. We showed you hugging that little fella. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're a long ways from the hugs.
I know.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Hopefully next year we'll bring better treatments, a vaccine. You know, but it's going to be a while, and we need the country to come together, and we're all in this together.
We are. We've all had to adapt, and we will continue to do so.
Yeah.
And, it's just nice that the three of us, even though we're all in, you know, I'm in Liverpool and Nancy's in, but you ladies are both by the lake. I'm by a water tower here in Liverpool. But it's still nice to come together and kind of escape from everything that's going on that we do every Sunday. And we just cannot thank you enough for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much for all you do for the community and you do for the arts and all the young people. We're just so grateful for you.
Well, Nancy, you got to keep telling me about your great students because you've given me some of the best talent I've had.
I just sent three of them to Idol. Idol got a hold of me and said, "Who you got?"
Wow.
Said, well, it just so happens I have three right now that are.
Well, don't forget
monsters.
Carrie. You know, Ryan Seacrest, you know, is one thing, but don't forget me.
I have three that are really rocking, but one's from Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
So she's quite a ways away, and there is a young man here from Syracuse that I'm interested in promoting, but he's 24 though, so he's a little older. And who was the other one I sent? Oh, one of my girls from Rochester.
Oh, okay.
She came to me, a classically trained. I'm getting a lot of these classically trained singers who are finding they can't use their skills in Broadway even anymore because it's all down in speaking voice.
Right.
So this was one of the young ladies that I helped her discover her speaking voice sound.
Isn't that great?
Rocking it. Rocking it. Just, and the whole thing, the stage presence, the whole thing.
Yeah. Got it all. Yeah, that's great.
But I will let you know. And
okay.
Once again, thank you so much.
Yes.
Anytime.
Thanks, Carrie. Be safe. Stay well.
Thank you. Stay healthy. It's what I say every day after my segment. Stay healthy. I'm Carrie Lazarus.
Oh, thank you. And on that note, we'll say good night.
On that note, thank you, and we'll see everyone next week. Carrie, you're the best. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care.
Love you, Nate. Take care. Bye-bye.